You can't foresee that.
I'm going to post after the event. I don't actually trust where it's going to post. I'm sorry to say that, but it's a new content and it's only seeming to letting me post on my own page, which I haven't seen before. And it's
Well,
not.
never mind. We'll all be in the chamber for the next one.
So there's some setting, and it may be to do with because we all have to log into our own Facebook pages when we do this. There may be a setting which I have disabled, which, because I manage other pages, is causing difficulty. No, I don't actually. I'm not going to do that.
Right. So we are sorry. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen and fellow councillors. This is the last meeting this fiscal year of the Civic Amenities Committee. We are being recorded. We will be on YouTube later. We have a bit of a hitch at the moment. Right, going for the first information usually taken as read, declarations of interest and so forth. I would ask though, if you have mobile telephones, if you'll please make sure they're turned off so that we don't get any disturbances. Recording, yes, the meeting is being recorded and later it will be put onto the YouTube. Item 7, public participation. Do we have any members of the public wishing to take part?
No, Chairman, we don't.
Thank you. In that case, we'll go on to the agenda, please. Part 1. Any apologies for absence?
I have not received any apologies for absence.
Thank you.
Apology from Councillor James.
Right. Thank you. Declarations of interest.
Do you wish to accept the apologies, Chair? Can I ask you to?
Yes, can you vote to accept the apologies? That's unanimous. Do we have any declarations of interest? Any items on the agenda?
I've not had any disclosed in advance, no.
Thank you. And have we had any requests for dispensation?
None, Chair, no.
Thank you. I take it that you've all read the minutes of the last meeting of the Civic Amenities. So are you happy for us to adopt these and for them to be signed as a true record of that meeting? Would you raise your hands to vote, please? Thank you, that's unanimous. So now we'll move on to item 5 of the agenda, which is the Projects Officer's report. This is all to give us what updates there are on current CAC projects, of which there are quite a few. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you, Chair. Just to report, we've been continuing to report items on the town and parish audit coming through the Chair and other councillors on such things as bins, block drains, potholes and other items of that nature, as well as hedges. You may have seen on Facebook that there was a fire at Croydon Cove, which destroyed the Brunel Trail board and another board down there. I've been in contact with Teignbridge District Council today, and also Bob Vickery has been in contact over the board. And at the current time, we are waiting for confirmation from the printer of the time that they have access to the print to go back in the board. And as I say, Teignbridge are on the case and we're working with them on that and Bob Vickery today. In terms of the 2 benches that were up at Croydon Cove, both were moved off of Croydon Cove about 3 weeks ago. One has been offered to Brownsbrook Allotment Association and they have accepted the offer, and arrangements are going to be made to place it in the car park of the area in agreement with the town clerk. The second bench is currently in storage, awaiting installation by Teignbridge District Council. We're piggybacking on an order for other benches they're having at the same time to reduce the cost of installation, to replace the bench at Old Town Street and Penfield Gardens. And the plaque for the bench of Dave's bench is on order and the kind donator will be collecting in due course. The town clerk has written to all the parties as requested at the last meeting of CAC regarding the trees growing in the pavement at Dawlish Warren Road. We're still currently no progress on community notice boards installation or the Swan interpretation board at Tuck's Plot. Members may recall in 2018 an agreement was made for some additional finger signposts. I have today been in contact with Teignbridge District Council as they are having work done on the finger posts to remove these signposting to this tourist information centre. And I have asked whether, as part of that removal of signs, we could include the installation of the finger post signs as agreed in 2018, so that the cost is actually lower and it would be a joint effort. So that is ongoing. I have been chasing the festive lighting gentleman at Devon County Council, and I'm still chasing that for a response, but I understand that staff shortages have prevented some replies over recent months, and other items regarding CAC are reported throughout the agenda this evening.
Thank you, Angie. Could I ask, could you just confirm regarding the damage to the pavements by the trees at Dawlish Warren? I think we recall, but for the benefit of anyone looking at this recording later on, could you just say who we've written to, what authorities we've written to, please?
Yep, if you bear with me, Chair, I'll just double check for you. So the town clerk, I verified with the town clerk this morning that he had done that. It includes the parties of Network Rail, the Silly Goose and others, but I'm just scrambling for my paperwork. Councillor Wrigley, I believe, had his hand in the air, Chair.
Yes, I did note that. I was waiting till you'd finished.
I apologise. We'd agreed to write to Network Rail, copy to Teignbridge District Council, Devon County Council, the business, the Silly Goose, and the owners of the land that the pavement was very dangerous.
Thank you. Before I come to you, Councillor Ridley, one other question I'd like to ask is finger posts. Do we already have them in stock?
No, we don't, but we can order them. And that was what we were talking about cost today for, Chair.
Yes, a while ago, I think we were told that this is a few years ago, that it was about £400 a piece, but we'll see. Councillor Wrigley.
Thank you. Just an update on the pavement by the Silly Goose. After an extreme length of time, I have finally had a response from Network Rail, who claimed it wasn't their land, but they have started an investigation as to whose land they believe it to be. And I have an incident number and an action number from them. So we'll see what happens. This is from an inquiry some while ago.
Thank you. Councillor Prowse.
Well, this might, to my knowledge, will be at least the second time they have investigated as to who owns this land. This is obviously somebody now who was not employed at the time they did it before. I'm sure, Chairman, you can remember that this has been through their system at least once, and I would think that Councillor Lowther also remembers this. So I don't think any of us need to hold our breath.
Thank you, Councillor Prowse. I would just add that more recently I've been informed that the trees originally were planted just along the border of the land now apparently belonging to Silly Goose. It actually belongs to the original owners. And subsequently, the railings were put up. And the strange thing is that the railings are exactly the same as those which continue around the corner along the track up to the Dawlish Warren station, which to my mind is interesting. Thank you. Anybody else wish to ask anything about the projects officer's report? No, you happy for us to move on to the Dawlish waterfowl? Yes. Right. Sorry. Yes.
So are you approving the report? I was just noting.
Yes.
Chair,
yeah.
Thank you.
To receive, well, we note it, to receive and note the report. Yes. Dawlish waterfowl, this is item 6, to receive and note the report. Have you all read it, or would you like our officer here to read it to you, just to refresh your memories, and so that those watching see it? Yes, Councillor Dawson.
That's what I was going to say. If it isn't too much for Angie to read it out, so people watching later will get the info.
That's what I'm thinking. Yes.
Fine. Okay, if you're okay, Chair.
So-
There was also another update, if I can make that at the same time as I read, is that
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
Thank you. Firstly, an update. Approximately a week ago, there was a dog attack on a cygnet. The cygnet had puncture wounds and was treated with antibiotics. It was subsequently returned to the family of black swans. At the May CAC meeting, there will be, firstly, a detailed paper on possible additional enforcement options for dogs on leads on the lawn, combined with concerns raised about dog fouling. This will outline options for working with potentially Teignmouth Town Council and Teignbridge District Council alongside the costs of such arrangements. The town clerk is currently ascertaining the relevant information to be brought to the committee May meeting. There will also be, secondly, a paper on signage to be presented on options for signage changes following discussions with the District Council. Members may also be aware that Teignbridge District Council is currently reviewing the current PSPO control of dogs. The District Council will be undertaking an online survey for consultation with town and parish councils, the public and other interested parties. And once this information is available, it will be circulated to town councillors. On Friday, the 23rd of April, we reported, the waterfowl wardens reported that one cygnet was missing. And at the time of writing this report, which was the 23rd of April, it was not located, and it has not been subsequently located since then. Today, the wardens received a report of a injured white duck and blood on the beak. That is currently being treated in the waterfowl compound. It is unclear what the cause of the injury was at this time. The two new black swans are currently settled in Tuck's plot. However, at the time of writing, they had not moved up to the nest site where Black Swan Cam is currently focused. However, I'm pleased to report yesterday they moved up beyond the camera site. So hopeful. 8 ducklings hatched last week, and there are lots more eggs in incubators. Teignbridge District Council have managed to clear the vegetation from 2 of the 3 islands opposite the old post office. But when they were endeavouring to clear the 3rd island with the trees, they actually uncovered a duck's nest with 6 eggs. And as a result, they stopped work and they returned to clear the island once the eggs are hatched. The waterfowl wardens are aware and will let Teignbridge know when the hatching has taken place. That's my report, Chair.
Thank you, Angie. I would, just a thought from me, we have got inquiries in progress, haven't we, about whether we can use one of the shoal banks as a sort of impromptu nesting site, which seems to me a little odd that we're also cutting down any vegetation which might be taking root on it. So I'm hoping that that will be taken into account. Councillor Taylor. You are muted, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Are we aware of whether the cygnet that has gone missing, whether that was the cygnet that was that had been attacked by a dog? Do we know that detail?
I asked that of the warden this evening, and it's believed that it was the same one.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Prowse.
Can I ask, Chair, through you, our district councillors, whether at Teignbridge you were talking about dogs and the report and so forth coming out. I happen to know, because I was chair of it, that there was a working party that was looking into dogs in every aspect, where they should go, whether they should be on leads, whether they should be on the beach, the whole thing. We went out to the public. Obviously we had a change of council and I've never heard any more about it. Am I to assume that this committee continued with new members, or is this a fresh report?
I would just say, I'll bring in Councillor Foden and Councillor Wrigley now, but I would just say that I think it was David Eaton who produced this report after an online consultation, and it is on the website at Teignbridge as to what can be done and where. But right, Councillor Foden first, then Councillor Wrigley.
Thank you, Chair. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Projects Officer for the comprehensive report. And I'm really pleased to hear that discussions are being had with both Teignbridge District Council about signage and with Teignmouth Town Council about the possibilities of going in with them into dog enforcement programmes. Secondly, in response to the question from Councillor Prowse, I can say that I was at a Teignbridge District Council meeting last week, the Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting, where we discussed the terms of reference for the task and finish group, looking at the PSPO on dogs report, and they have their first meeting, I understand, in a couple of weeks' time of that task and finish group, and they'll be talking about the online survey which is mentioned in the report from the Projects Officer. So I know that that is in hand and the meetings are going ahead. Thank you.
Councillor Wrigley. Thank you, sorry, Councillor Foden. Councillor
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarity, so the dog PSPO was put into place whenever it was 2 years ago, and this is a review as to whether it's working and whether it needs updating and changing. So it's not that it is continuously trying to put one in place. It has been in place for a while, and this is reviewing the effectiveness and whether the dates are right, and whether the conditions are right, and whether it's doing what we wanted to achieve.
Thank you. Being a dinosaur and not always going on to Facebook and the internet, my feeling is that if these things are only on the internet, if you really are interested, you'll look it up, and if you're not, you won't. So, and I do know that Teignmouth Council have been employing at great expense people to observe the dog activity around Bitton House. And that's what was brought up to the clerk, and that is one of the things that's being investigated or pursued anyway. Anyone else wish to say anything? Oh, Angie, yes.
Just coming back on the earlier point in the report, you asked about the shoal and the island. Basically, Richard Rainbow said that once they've removed the vegetation and the trees which are in the wall, which is the trees they were talking about, they will then work on getting the consent to regrade the shoal to create the duck platform.
Right, thank you. But it will at that time need some vegetation on it, so I'm sure they've thought of it. We'll have the ducks going up with their own twigs and planting them. But thank you very much. Does anybody else wish to say anything about the Dawlish waterfowl, item 6? I would just remind us that one of the projects we've got on CAC is renewal and strengthening of the wire roof to that compound, which will also involve strengthening the structure as a whole. But that's ongoing. Thank you. Are you happy to note the report? Would you like to vote with your hands, please? Thank you. The next item is 7, decorative planting and watering. And I would say straight away, thank you to Angie for suggesting and arranging the winter baskets. They've been a great success. So we'll open that one now. We'll ask for, is there anything you'd like to start this off with, Angie?
No, I think it is in the report, Chair. I think Councillor Prowse wishes to speak.
All right. Councillor Prowse. You're muted.
Thank you. I was just going to say, I don't very often go down the town, or haven't up to very recently, and I must say I really thought the baskets looked lovely. So they've done a grand job. I do notice that the daffodils are beginning to die off. So am I right in thinking, Chair, that there will be an update of the or a refreshment of the hanging baskets as we go into the summer season, because they are definitely spring-like and very lovely.
Is it round about June, Angie, that we usually get the replanting?
That's if you agree to the paper, Chair. Obviously, that's what's in the paper this evening. But it will be, my understanding is early June. So hopefully they'll only just about, die off, and then we'll be back in bloom again.
It's been disappointing that the baskets around the bandstand died off some time ago, and they're looking very shabby. So it'll be a relief to see those replanted. It's not just a matter of replanting the containers. The lining of the containers is all decomposing, and all you see now, you partially see black plastic now. So it'll be a relief to get those done. So I take it that everyone knows what this is about. To consider and agree the arrangements. Are you happy to vote to agree this, or does anyone wish to propose this? Councillor Prowse?
Propose it.
Sorry, we lost you then. Could you repeat that, please?
I will propose it, but I think Councillor Lowther wishes to speak before I make my proposal, or afterwards, whichever way.
I was going to ask her second because you asked first. Yes, Councillor Lowther.
I was going to second, but I thought the clerk was going to read it out. Project officer. No?
Have you all seen this report, these details?
Yes, but is there any costings with it? No?
Could I ask perhaps, Angie, that you just précis it in that, are the costs considerably up, or are they similar to other years? Are we going to get value for money, in other words?
Well, I think we always get value for money. Sorry.
Prior to last year, when, as the chair will be aware, we had new baskets. We were paying £8,000 alone for watering costs, and the budget was £14,000. This year, our budget has been agreed for decorative planting and watering of £8,000, and the combined cost using our new eco-friendly baskets for all the summer planting, all the winter planting, all the watering by the contractor and the outside services staff, and the water arrangements paying Teignbridge District Council on a per week basis, which I've had initial discussions about, totals the sum of £6,304.20. So we are £1,000 and roughly £696 below budget to achieve the planting, which based on a previous year of 14,000, I think the chair committee might like to consider.
Which would allow for any hiccups or accidents as well. So it's good to have that in hand.
That is
Councillor Dawson.
fantastic.
Councillor Dawson had her hand up. Thank you. Councillor Dawson.
Those pots, the hanging pots, they do excite me greatly, actually, because they are a real sign of us changing it over to the eco side of things. So keeping the nice, beautiful planting, but also being really mindful of that. And that's also now really paid off dividends financially. So I'm very excited about those plastic baskets.
Thank you, Councillor Dawson. Councillor Wrigley, you had your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. Can't you see the, do you not have access to the electronic hands?
I prefer, personally, I prefer to see hands up. Thank you.
That's fine. I shall
I think it's easier for members of the public anyway, who aren't used to the electronic hands.
That's very true. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, I'd just like to congratulate Angie on finding these baskets. As Councillor Dawson has just said, these were, was it Angie found the baskets? Was it, who found them?
I think we have, I think the chair started it, and then we've made investigations, and basically it's led to this good position, Chair.
Oh, fantastic. In that case, Chair, I'd like to give you the congratulations for finding the baskets and working with Angie to make sure it's all been delivered, because we get even better planting for under the budget, and that is a fantastic result. So thank you very much indeed, both of you.
I have to confess, they were recommended by the small gardening firm we've been using to restore and renovate the areas around the Manor House itself. And then we followed it up and Angie pursued the matter. Yes, it's certainly worth doing. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak about on this topic? Councillor Lowther.
Yeah, just a quick one. Are we still using the same planter? Same business, same market garden?
Voices, yes.
Yes, Voices. Extremely good, fabulous.
We nearly lost them because they weren't willing to carry on with the watering as it was.
Yes, I know, I remember all that.
It was through through the projects officer negotiating with them in view of the new baskets that enabled us to come to this new agreement. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? No, so you're happy to agree the arrangements as on
Yeah.
item 7 on the agenda. Thank you, that's unanimous. Right, we'll move on to item 8. This is a movement of a location of a planter. Now, some of you will remember when the original planters arrived, I think it was South West Water many, many years ago. Ros, you'll remember this. And they were down at the seafront. And then for various reasons to do with works down there and floods and whatever, some of them were moved. And we have some now up Brunswick. Unfortunately, when that happened, we ended up with 2 of them. One by the White Hart, which is quite reasonable, it's nice there, but one down below it, which has ended up with just being barely seen and outside somebody's front door. And there seems to be a suitable location for that. If you're thinking about Brunswick, you come up Brunswick, you know where the other planters are. At the top of Brunswick, just past the Shaftesbury, there is another ticket machine with a large area of tarmac around it, very similar to the one where the planter just below is situated. And right, I've got your mind onto that site now. I'll put it down to Angie.
I'm just going to say, Chair, if you'd like, I'll share my screen and I can show you the location of where it is currently and where you'd like it to go. Would that be okay?
Thank you. Ideal.
Okay, so I think if I just...
We did have an offer to move it years ago by M&D Hire, but it wasn't able to be taken up.
I believe this is the one you're referring to, Chair?
The lower one, yes.
Yeah, so that's where obviously it is currently, and I'm just going to repurpose the map and then I will share again. Obviously these pictures were taken a while ago on a third-party map site. Bear with me.
This goes back some years, but it would complete the...
I believe that's where you mean, Chair, is it? You want it to go? Is it there?
Further up.
Further
on
up?
The right, towards the top. Towards the top on the right, there is another ticket machine right up there. That's it, and with a large area of tarmac around it. There we go, where you are now. Which would complete the sequence along Brunswick, rather than having one basically on somebody's private ground now. Still leaving the one obviously outside the White Hart, which is a nice focal point.
Okay, would you like me to stop sharing, Chair?
Everyone happy? You know where we're talking about? Thank you. Yes, thank you, Andrew. Anyone like to speak on that? Councillor Prowse, your hand's gone up.
Can you hear me? Have I done it right this time? Sorry about this, folks. Yes, you're quite right. Those, if I remember correctly, it was either Round Table or Rotary who gave us those great big concrete planters many years ago, and we did have a problem moving them around. And at one time, every shop along when we were in financial problems, every shop took over a planter going down around the shops and looked after it themselves. And that's, I think, in some ways how some of them ended up where they are. But I'm very happy for you to put one up there. It sort of takes the eye up right the way up the Brunswick.
It does.
It would be nice. I know it's expensive and I most probably couldn't get them, but I expect there are several places around the town where they would look very nice, but they have been there a very long time.
But it would complete the sequence is what I'm thinking. And going back to the beginning, I have noticed you, Councillor Lowther, going way back, as you'll be aware, there was a time before, in more recent years, the council took over the management of those tubs when they were just full of weeds. And I remember when Dare and various volunteers in the town out of their own pockets planted them but then subsequently they got taken over by the town council, and they've been a treasure ever since. Councillor Lowther.
Just a little bit of information. I remember Councillor Mary Mugford telling me that she paid for one of those pots, or two of them, and I think Ros may have done.
I did.
So, yes.
And I
So
was
there
one of the
weren't,
volunteers
you
who
know,
planted them, yes.
Yes,
So
but
we've
I was
all
one
got a
of the
finger in it.
volunteers as well, together with, you know, for many years, we planted those planters. Unfortunately, two that were left near the viaduct got a lorry crashed into them and they were broken and they were never replaced, but there were two missing. Another one went near the Blenheim, and I think it's still there outside the Blenheim.
Mm.
That was one that was left in the corner and the other two got smashed. So if we wanted, because we did used to have things on the seafront there and they looked really, really nice. So, but that's for another day.
Yeah.
But I'd just like to explain that those pots were bought by councillors, Councillor Prowse and Councillor Mary Mugford.
Yeah, I think they were also added
Well,
to when South West Water put the double-skinned tank underneath where we've now got the Crazy Golf. But that doesn't matter. The point is there were four there. Two got moved, two got damaged, but we have one now in an odd situation, and we've got a gap where it would be nice. So anyone else like to speak on that, please? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Couple of things. Well, first of all, I actually quite like where it is at the moment. It's off of the pavement. It's a corner that, you know, could use that colour, and it would be a shame, I think, to take it away. The other thing is, of course, that Brunswick Place was one of the areas where we considered electric vehicle charging, and at the time people were saying, well, there's not enough room on the pavement for the electric vehicle chargers to go. So, you know, from that point of view, perhaps we ought to wait at least until the people who are perhaps giving us these electric vehicle chargers, £250,000 worth of electric vehicle chargers, before we decide that we're going to put a planter there instead.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. The only thing I would say is that between that point and the bridge, there isn't a parking space anyway. But anyway, who else would like to speak on it? Councillor Prowse. Councillor Prowse and then Councillor Dawson. You are muted, Councillor Prowse. You're still muted.
Right, I keep getting an unstable internet thing come up. I would just say, because I know you all love to have stories of the past, I can remember when my mother lived in Brookdale Terrace, that some gentlemen came out of the pub further up the road one night and picked up one of those and threw it into the stream.
It was a very small version of it, though. It was one that used to be by the post office and then got moved across the road, yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't the big ones, but yeah. Councillor Dawson.
Aside from the electric points, which is a very good point, I think it would be nice there at the Brunswick, especially if you have a lot of day trippers parking at Barton Car Park. The first thing they see when they reach the Brunswick to be a splash of colour. So I do think it'd be nice, but I just wondered, have we already discussed or have I missed out the cost of moving them?
Angie.
We haven't got a cost of moving them, Chair, because of course the first stage is to discuss with Devon County Council whether they're happy for us to move the planter into that place. And then if you know, this is the first stage of discussions, and if they are happy, then obviously we will pursue costings and come back as appropriate. But no, Councillor Dawson, obviously, because if you don't agree to move it, then I didn't get quotes.
Councillor Dawson, you wish to respond?
Yeah, I was just going to say, because that particular area in the pavement, I have seen motorists mount up there to get past things before, and I think having a planter there might be a good way to nudge people to stay on the road and not mow over people trying to buy a ticket. So that might be another positive for that area.
I think we would expect in any case that if any costs are ascertained, that would all come back to the committee. If it was a small, reasonable amount, then this committee would be able to agree it. And if not, it would have to go to finance and general purposes anyway. Years ago, a local contractor offered to do it for nothing, but that may not well be the case now. Anybody else wish to say something on this?
Yep.
So in that case, would anyone like to, well, I would like to propose from the chair that we consider the movement of this particular planter, preferably before they're replanted, because it can be emptied, it'll be lighter, to the position that we're discussing, subject to costs.
Fine.
Would anyone be happy? You'd second that, would you, Councillor Proud?
Yeah.
Thank you. So are we agreed that subject to costs, we investigate moving this planter? Right. Councillor Taylor, are you against or abstaining? You're muted.
I shall be abstaining.
Thank you. So that's one abstention and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favour.
Chair, may I ask a question? Sorry.
Yes, by all means.
When you say subject to costs, does that mean the costs will come back and the detailed proposal will come back to here for confirmation?
That's what I just cleared with our projects officer, that
Thank you.
after further investigations, that it will come back to CAC for a decision, and that will be obviously subject to reasonable costs and whether it's feasible.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. And we move on to item 9, Brownsbrook allotments, again to receive and note a report.
I haven't received a report, Chair, apart from the discussion about the bench as noted earlier.
Thank you. I haven't either this time. I know they had a meeting yesterday evening. I would, as a by the by, I would say I've been offered some tools from someone who's retiring from an allotment and various bits and pieces, which I will be arranging to let the association have as spares. Everyone happy to move on, or does anyone wish to say anything on that item?
No.
Happy to move on to item 10, Green
Yeah.
Report. I know this has been last minute. I've actually had to buy an entire new computer, which has arrived today. I've had a hectic time with them, so I haven't been able to produce it in a nice, neat manner. But I did manage to send out, after getting a response from the Open Spaces officer. Normally, I draw up a provisional list, then we go round. He adds what he's seen, and then we collaborate on it. This time, I didn't have any response from councillors other than Councillor Lowther, Terry Lowther later. But I did have response from several residents, and I did personally visit every single site that day before I met with the Open Spaces officer, for the obvious reason he has a limited amount of time. We are one of many towns he's responsible for in Timbridge. So I sent what I thought we'd noted off to him. He's amended it in red, and I sent it out with his agreement as I received it. There are some items in there which our projects officer will no doubt follow up. I have some contact details for you as well, Angie, when I can get that sorted. Is there anything on there that you think we've missed altogether? If you've had time to read it. I'm sorry it's last minute. Yes, Councillor Dawson.
I'm sorry about your technical difficulties, but I've read through. It's stressful, isn't it? I've read through, and the only thing that I initially was quite cross at when it happened was the digging at Sandy Lane, but I have since been to Starcross playing fields and seen that they've made a really nice feature for children on their bikes of, I think it's just two grassy humps, and I was up there watching football, have been for a couple of weeks, and people really enjoying it. Such a simple feature and amenity. So I've kind of changed my mind now from being so cross that someone was up there digging to thinking, actually, if this is young people telling us that this is an amenity we should have, I think it's a perfect place for it there. I don't think it should be hidden elsewhere, because I think when you hide things, that's when you don't have public's eyes on things, and you can kind of invite potentially antisocial behaviour and things. So I've changed my mind from being a grumpy person looking at people with spades to thinking maybe this is people voting with their digging tools. So I would be really keen to ask Teambridge to explore that.
Thank you. And I'll ask Angie to confirm in a minute, but I did bring this up with the office, and it wasn't possible to bring this onto the agenda tonight because lots of information is required, but it is being investigated and pursued, and the Open Spaces officer is also aware of thoughts on it. Would you like to add anything to that, Angie?
Exactly what you said, Chair. The aim is to bring it to a future CAC when we have more information from Teambridge, bearing in mind it's not DTC land, and have the full information to bring to committee.
And concerning obviously things like health and safety and insurance and whatever, who's responsible if, you know, anything goes wrong. But yes, basically, personally, I think apart from oldies like myself, the young people have suffered badly in the last year or so. And I'm very, very keen that in any way that we can help them and help them to get out and exercise, the better. I'm very, very much in favour. And we've got so many more youngsters in the area. We've had huge development. Every development equals a family ultimately, or usually, especially in the housing that we're having. And we need to provide facilities wherever and whenever we can, subject to ownership, insurance, all the rest of it. Yes, Councillor Dawson.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to say, if this is going to be going out on Facebook later, it might be a good idea if there's any people watching who know BMXers, even if there was someone with a spade, anyone who's interested in this, it might be great for them to come forward to the Town Council to express their needs and desires.
That's quite a reasonable idea. As Angie said, what we want to do, and it will come up at the May CAC. It couldn't be brought forward now. At least we hope we'll have information by the CAC in May. It will come up then for further discussion, and then if the civic amenities wishes it to be taken further, then of course it goes to full council and subject to all the permissions from the landowners. But yes, it's good. I've just recently, I've met up, I wanted to, but I've accidentally met up with 3 or 4 people now who run all these youth teams and so forth. And I'm astonished at the work they do, the things they do in their own time, the things they do with their own money, the work that they carry out, that it turns out that district councils and so forth are not actually, as I assumed, covering. I think it's astonishing, and they need all the help they can get. Anybody else wish to say anything else about the Green Report? Is there anything that we've missed? Councillor Foden.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say thank you for including the line lower down in the report about the replacement and provision of various bins is an ongoing problem. I've recently had several emails from residents asking for more bins to be provided along Marine Parade because of the frequent littering and overflowing rubbish bins. I have been in contact with the executive lead at Teambridge District Council, and I've been sent the Teambridge bin policy.
Yes,
and the Teambridge bin application form for applying for further bins, and I will contact the projects officer when I'm not working to pass this on to her. Thank you.
I think you'll find the projects officer is happy to jump in there because we've already been made aware of this. Angie.
Yeah, we do have said bin policy, and I have completed the application form on a few occasions already. So more than happy to. What happens is once you complete the application form for a new bin, as the chair may be aware, they then monitor the situation for a period of time before considering installation, etc. As it's not just about obviously just installing the bin. And we currently have an application of that nature in for Thompson's Path.
I would just add that the bins that are mentioned in the Green Report, that's not the full picture. Those are only the bins which our open spaces officer has been trying to pursue because they are on his open spaces for which he's responsible. There are various other applications in fact, I've got more to send in, Angie. The problem is that the funds seem to be limited and the criteria is quite high. So we can just plod on and hope, but it's no good us just asking. It doesn't mean to say we're necessarily going to get. In fact, the one bin in particular at the top of Manor Gardens, where the little wooden breach goes out onto Barton Terrace, we've been asking for that one for 3 years. So yes, Councillor Prowse. Councillor Prowse?
No,
You're muted.
I'm unmuted now, am I?
Yes, yes.
Sorry about this, folks. I just think it's very sad that we have to supply bins to people, a lot of whom could take their rubbish home with them. I, as many others sitting around this table, so I can think of several looking at them, have travelled to countries in the world where there are no such things as bins and there's never any rubbish. It's almost as though while we put a bin out there, we have to automatically fill it. And I quite agree with you, Chairman. It's not the bin, it's emptying it, keeping it looked after, replacing it. As we found out once before with this council, it costs a lot of money to keep replacing bins. So it is a sad fact of life that we as a nation don't seem to be very tidy at all.
Thank you, Councillor Prowse. Anyone else wish to say anything? I would just add that simply replacing a red dog bin costs a few £100s. If we want to put a new one anywhere, it's several £100s because of the base that has to be put in. And then, yes, it has to be where it can be collected, i.e. close to a highway. And then we have to pay for the disposal, not just the collection and the time and the workmen, but the disposal of the proceeds, whether that's general litter or dog bags. It is a complicated topic and we keep battling on. But yes, we could all do more to take our rubbish home. I think a lot of us older, well, my generation anyway, you didn't dare drop it. You were told to put it in your pocket and take it home. Dogs haven't got pockets, but still. Right, are we finished on that item? Right, is everyone happy that we close the meeting? Because
Are you just noting the report, Chair?
yes, sorry. Are you happy to note the report, please? Thank you. I'm getting DMOB happy, you see. I'm not actually. Councillor Prowse, did you want to say something? You're at it again.
I did. I was actually going to thank you for the work that you've done as chairman of CAC. You've been a stalwart, as have several other people in the past. So I'd like to thank you, and whatever you do in the next council, I wish you all the best, as I'm sure every one of us sitting around this table does.
I shall still be digging somewhere, I'm sure. Councillor Lowther.
I would like to second that, even though it's not a proposal. I know it isn't, but instead of going through it all again, I agree with Councillor Prowse.
Well, I shall be happy to help with any spade work, if you'll pardon the pun, for whoever else takes over anyway. My heart is in it, as you know.
Yeah.
And my heart is in this community, as are all our hearts. And we have all the best of intentions. We can't always achieve everything we want, but we do what we can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I've just realised, yes, we did do that. Sorry, I got out of order with my pieces of paper. So in that case, if you're all happy and you want to go off and have your cup of tea, I'll call this meeting to a close. It's 1952, according to the clock on this. It's about the only
Well,
thing
that's
still
good.
working on.